Alright, so welcome back. This is back again in Breach Wanderers. It was brought to my attention in the last video that I wasn't really explaining what I was doing too much. So I glossed over a lot of different pieces and didn't explain what my thought process was with doing a lot of the stuff. Because a lot of it was going on in my head and I just played along very quickly. So, I'm going to do another run today. Left off exactly from where we were before, because I haven't actually played it since. And we're just going to do another run. We will be using... we'll keep with Rodan, since that's the deck that we used from before. So we can actually edit the deck as we have. I think this is still the edited deck that we did. So one of the things that we've got, obviously, is to gain 4 shield if you played a mana card. If played after a mana card. So this is one of those things that's sort of like combos. So at the bottom of each card we can see is a name. So this is a skill card. This is a mana card. There's a strike card as well. And I believe there's a spell card. Yeah, we got spell cards as well. So if you play this after you've played a mana card, as you can see here, then you also gain 4 extra shield. So you got things like that. So mend is a skill rather than a spell, which is interesting. So block, chill, these are skills. These are spells. And we've got the mana ones there. So if we go, we'll go for another run. Talk more about like the different stats and things on the weapons, not on weapons, on the enemies. So the green ones here, from what I've gathered, these are the easier fights. These are obviously the random encounters. And based on card composition and character you're using, you might get extra dialogue. The silver ones are slightly stronger enemies, and gold ones are like boss types. And then at the top you've got the actual final boss. So I believe this is the second one. Actually, can we go back? We could probably reset, but never mind. We'll assume that it's the second one that we had to do before. So we'll go with. We'll start off down here, since there's a random event there that we can do afterwards. So when we hover over the enemies, at the moment you see nothing, but if we do, let's say, that one, to gain 2 mana and apply 3 frost to the enemy, we see that's got 3 out of 10 frost. Once it hits 10, they'll be frozen. So we'll do another mana shield to gain the 14. So this applies 12 frost, so that increases that'll increase it to 15, and they'll become frozen. So we'll do that, and they are now frozen. And then we'll apply this one to here, give them 20, and they're frozen as well. Because they were frozen, they took damage from that spell. And here you see they lose, from what it seems like, they lose 10 per turn, and the resistance has gone up to 15. So now you have to get 15 frozen on the enemies to actually freeze them. So something like Pierce, which deals damage to any enemy equal to 80% of its maximum frost. So the maximum frost now is 15, which means it will do 12 damage rather than 8 damage that it would have done if this was at 10. So it's a good idea that if you can afford it, obviously, to build up your frost more before using this, like a card like this. That's based on a percentage. Oh, we'll throw that out. I should have done that one first. Never mind. So what we'll do So this one does 12 damage to one enemy and then 6 to all enemies. So that means it does 18 damage to one enemy. But we'll do it to this guy, killing him. Throw the block out. And then that does 12 damage. So if that was up to 20, we can end the turn. That would then do... What was 80% of 20? 16? Yeah. Yeah? I think so. And here it actually says 12 rather than just 80%, so it's strange that it didn't show that. So we can apply 12 frost here. So there's blue you got there saying frost. So it'll freeze them. And then if we end turn again, it will go up to 20. Unfortunately we didn't get the thing to do it. The pierce, which does % base damage, but it obviously becomes harder and harder every time you freeze them. We'll kill that now before we start taking damage. So when it comes to card-based choices, the monster cards tend to or appear to be much stronger. Although in this case, I think we'll probably take that to get the extra frost as well. I think that'll probably be better. And you got, because this one creates 2 thorn needles as well. As we see on the side, they do 1 damage each. They don't cost anything. They're strikes, but they're temporary. So as we saw in the previous video, they get ripped up once you've used them. But you can reuse this one. So this deals 3 damage to the first enemy and give it bleed 3, which means it will deal 3 damage at the end of the turn. The upgraded version, I believe, is 6 damage. But we're going to take the Ice Blast because this character is just overflowing with mana. So we'll do that, and then we'll go for the random encounter. So see, these are the generic ones, but because we've got something that triggers a special one, which is often better, as we've seen, we can improve one of our abilities. So what we're going to do, that would do apply 26 frost, then deal 26 damage if it froze. If it was not frozen, which generally is pretty good. The other one would be maybe a pierce, which will increase it to 120, which means it will do a minimum of 12 damage if they haven't been frozen yet, which is actually pretty good. And it's a cheap spell as well, so I think that's actually the better one to do. And then we got this one, which is a fire elemental, so we know there's fire elementals here. So underneath the characters here, you can see their next actions. So this creature will use a buff and attack for 5. So it's going to attack, hit for 5, and that will give it a buff, which is probably going to be the powerful buff, which increases damage next turn. And this one just does 8 damage. So what we want to do is we want to do Chilling Focus. What we've got here so far is we've got Mana Shield, Chilling Focus, Mend, which won't heal anything. And then we've got 2 Ice Blasts, which is brilliant, but I don't know if we'll be able to use them both. So what we can do is we'll apply that, which again we see now is at 10. Apply that one, and it gives us 10 mana to use. Now what we want to do, I think we want to freeze this one, simply because it was going to buff itself. We're not going to waste the mana to heal, because as we know, the health bar actually gets smaller and smaller until you rest, rather than actually just taking damage. But the mana also passes over, so we don't want to waste the 2 mana on that, just in case we get something slightly better. The shield blocks the attack from there, so we're all good. So we got, once again, now this one's interesting because we got, even though that went down, it's already at 12 out of 15, because it was at 23, 22 from the previous turn. So they lose about 10 of this resistance per turn. Which means using this chilling focus will actually freeze it. Which then means we can use one of the other ones. So if we do that, it's 18 damage there and it's 12 damage there because they've only got 10 resistance. And that would do 12 damage there. And 8 damage there because that's not upgraded. So it might be worth doing... Actually, I don't know. We've got 10 mana, so we can actually use all of these anyway. Can we kill them? I think we... I don't think we can kill both of them. But we'll kill that one. Because this one's frozen, it's not going to act. It's got frozen 2 at the top. I think that means it's been frozen twice. Not entirely sure. We can apply... Yeah, it doesn't really matter what we do. We can apply 12 frost, but it won't do anything this turn. And the mana won't do anything for us because they're going to die anyway from one of these. Which does 12 damage on hit and 6 damage to everything there. So shock rune applies shock. Deals 6 times 2 damage to any enemy, so it should be 12 damage. And it does the same thing with frost, but it does a shock effect, which means that they'll take 100% more damage from the next attack. So this would give us 3 mana or 5 if an enemy is frozen. This one is a draw 1 non-mana card, deal damage equal to all enemies equal to 5 times its cost. Unfortunately, the only ones we got cost 2. Oh no, non-mana, not non-spell, sorry. Non-mana card. Mana cards are these ones. So that could be 2, 4 or 6. So it could do a lot of damage, potentially. It'd be between 10 and 30. But that's quite a big risk. So I think this one will be better. Simply because the shock will allow us to increase the damage. And it gives us a buff, the shock rune buff. So your attacks apply fixed shock equal to 15% of damage dealt. And I just realised that they weren't fire elementals, they were lightning elementals. It's a good thing I'm not a spellcaster, because I'd have screwed that up completely. Yeah, that's a lightning elemental, that's not a fire elemental. Is it? Yeah. I think it's supposed to be a lightning elemental. No, because that... No, I don't know. I don't know. So right now we can go either up to the top. These two probably have the same enemies on them. Yeah, I think that's a lightning elemental. I think the fire elementals are more orange. So that would probably be fire. This one's poison. So I think we're going to go for the fire one. So if we go up this way... We tried poison before and it wasn't too great. So we have... This one's buffing. Then these two are going to be attacking. So we need to get a shield up. So if we gain 2 mana first, and then we gain a shield, that should cover the damage that we're going to take. Should have played the mana shield first. Actually, it doesn't matter because we don't need the 4 shield, since that's going to cover. The 22 is definitely going to cover all of that. Now that's going to do the most damage, but that's going to buff itself. So which one do we want to kill? They all got 30. So that'll do 12, and then that'll do 24 and 18. So we can kill something, basically. We might as well throw that out to gain the extra mana. We'll kill that one because it's buffing itself. Since we're not going to take any damage anyway. And I believe that resets back to 10. I think at the start of your turn, if your shield is higher than its max value, it gets reduced. Oh, if it's higher than your max value, it will get reduced, yeah. Okay, That's just fine. So that will freeze. So that's gone down to 2 from 3. So it might be percentage based. Oh, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure on how quickly it goes down. It doesn't say on the bar either. But what we can do is freeze that one. And that one's defending, so that won't matter too much. But if we hit that, and then we can gain... oh, I don't have enough mana. So do that. We might as well do that. So now we've got the shock up here. So your attacks apply fixed shock equal to 15% of damage dealt. So here we can see we've got shock. So when it's filled, the target will be shocked and take 100% extra damage. We haven't got anything else that does shock. But the attacks that we do, 15% of it will become shocked. So apply 10 shock. No, apply 2 shock and apply 1 shock. Right, that's a bit weird. Oh, it's apply 10 shock. I think that's registering my hit points, which is a bit weird. It's a little bit weird. So we can kill that. You can see that does 7 damage. We don't need to mend, so it's fine. So our shield will be gone. But nothing else will happen. So it's all good. We can then kill it with any of our spells, because nothing else will carry over to the next combat anyway. So we get our coins, we get our aether, and we get experience. So we can choose a card. So we've got growth. So increases maximum mana by 1 per rank. Gain 1 extra mana every turn for every 6 rank, maximum plus 4. So we won't get the extra mana now unless we get 2 more growth on top of it. So we'd have to use the card twice to get that bonus. And if we do it 3 times, we'll get 2 bonuses. And we gain 2 mana for it. Draw 3, gain overcharged. So overcharged is a debuff, which applies 2 fixed shock to yourself whenever the player draws an extra card. Which means, and once the shock gets up to 10 on us, then we'll take extra damage from the next hit. And then I believe it's 15 again, and so on and so forth, same as the enemies. And this one is apply 12 arcane to any enemy, and then gain 12 shield if this triggered arcane detonation. So we've had this one before. And the detonation does 10 fixed damage. So again, it's got the resistance bar. So it starts off at 10, then 15, then 20. I believe it increases in 5 increments of 5. So this one applies 12, so you're guaranteed to do it at least once. Do it the first time. And then it does 10 damage. And the first destination will dispel 1 frozen, will dispel 1. So dispel reduces the rank of all buffs by 10%. So if they got buffs, then that's good to get rid of them. If they're frozen and shocked, increase the damage by 5 each. So if they're both frozen and shocked, this would do 20 damage, not 10. Well, the detonation would do an extra 10 damage, which is really good. I like the... I think we will do that actually. It just feels like it'll be better. But we should try and work... So we've had this one before. If we ambush the plants, then we fight the plants. If we ambush the elementals, we fight the elementals. Or we stay hidden and we can get some aether from what's left. So fighting would get us experience and money and probably another card. But we risk the chance of losing health. We are going to do that anyway because the dangerous elementals might have some nice stuff. The other group of monsters flee as you start. Of course they do. The rewards are better for fighting in general. I'm assuming. I don't think it's a full, but right. So we got chilling. It applies to the first enemy. Yeah. So we do the chilling focus, which gives us the 3 frost. So these got 12. This has got 12 resistance. It's a higher level enemy basically. So obviously the higher level, as we can see, the higher level enemies, which have got armor on, it seems, actually do take more to get frozen. So we played the mana card, so we're going to play this next. So now we're at max mana. We're going to apply 12 frost to any enemy. So we're going to apply it to this one to freeze them. Going to cast shield because this guy's going to do four attacks. Four attacks for 1 damage or 1 attack for 4 damage. I'm not entirely sure which way that'll just go reading. But it's giving itself a buff, so not entirely sure which way around that's going. But what we can do is we can actually freeze it and then deal an extra 20 damage. Because it's a lower level, so it only needed 10. And it means we do not get hurt at all. Which might not have been the best thing to do, because obviously we lost our shield. But it's fine. So here, we've got our arcane. As we see, it's got 10 here, and this one's got 10 as well. And we're not sure which one we want to do though. No, we do know what we're going to do, because we've got Magic Blast here, which does 6 damage, so that's going to die regardless. You can see he's prepping to do 8 shock, which isn't going to deal damage, it's just going to shock us for 8, and we've got 0 at the moment, so we'll be fine. So we'll do that, and because it triggered the explosion, we gain our shield. Do need the... I miscounted that, I thought I had an extra mana. So we didn't have the mana, so we used that 2 mana thing, and we can't do this to kill it, but we can do. So that would do 23 damage to this one and 18 to this one. We're going to do it on this character because we've got max shield, we've got really high shield, so the attacks aren't going to do anything. But we do this one, that will lower them down. If we get another Magic Blast, it'll actually kill both of them. In theory. There you go, see, I'm powerful. Yeah, so the next time they attack, it'll do 2 damage each hit. Fortunately, they're not going to get that chance because we have got Magic Blast. So if we hit that here, it's going to do 18 damage here, and it's going to do 6 damage there. As we can see for the numbers on the enemies. So obviously 18 is better than 17, and 6 is 6, so... Boo! Easy win. And now we've got enough energy here to find an item, and we can remove a card if we want to. Let's first choose a card. Deal damage to any enemy equal to 120% of its maximum shock. So this is the same as the freezing one, which does 80%. And I think we are going to choose that because there's only 1 mana as well, and so that's a minimum of 12 damage, if I understand it correctly. So we'll take that one. Let's have a look at what things we've got. So we've unlocked a temporary copy. This is an active trinket. These are the ones that appear on the side here. So it creates a temporary copy of the next 2 non-temporary spells you play this turn. No. That seems... We don't have the mana to then play the temporary spells. So I don't think it's going to be worth it. So I think we'll discard that to gain 20 energy. And we can remove something from our deck. So we remove the worst cards, the bad cards. Although there aren't really any bad cards in our deck at the moment. You can remove them in order to focus your deck, so you're more likely to get the cards that you want each time you shuffle them, so you'll just get them more often basically. But all our cards are really pretty good, so we're not going to do that, but we'll get a lucky charm, which allows us to re-roll cards. So we got the elite boss now, which is just a one-off, 120 health. So he's got 15. If you look, he's got disrupt. This creature will use a debuff, so he's going to use 2 debuffs. If he's using 2 debuffs, or he's using 1, and that's just a symbol for it. As we can see, yeah. So it uses 12% damage, 80% 12 damage, because the maximum frost, as we see here, is 15. So what we can do, we might as well throw these out and that out. And then just hit it with everything we got. We won't use that. He's giving me weak and vulnerable. Decreased damage dealt and status applied by 25% and increased damage taken. Right. So that does now 9-4 rather than 12-6. Fortunately, that's percentage based, so that doesn't matter. So it doesn't actually care about what it says that we should be doing less damage of. So what we can do, that's going to do 15 damage and 15 shock next. Ooh. So we are going to want to use our shield for sure, so we don't take too much damage. We can then hit it with our spells. Again, because they're percentage based, they're not affected by weakness. We'll play the mana shield, and then we'll just hit it again with that spell. We've got 1 mana left over for the next turn. And we have been shocked. He's next, we can see he's going to do shock again, which is going to again apply shock, so that's going to go up. And he's buffing himself, so what we can do, we want to apply frost. Now we've only got 5 mana. Right, so if we play that, we've got 7 mana now. So that will deal, apply 15 frost, which will freeze him, and then deal 15 damage as if frozen. If it's frozen, it does 9. So 9's not enough, we need 11, you see. So it says 9 frost, but he's got 4 out of 15, so we'd need 11 to freeze him. So this would probably be better because it then won't shock us or buff himself. I think that's probably going to be the best choice. He's now frozen, which means he loses his next turn. So now he's going to do 18 damage and do 10 shock to us. So we don't have anything that'll disrupt it at all, so we're going to have to just take it, unfortunately. And we're going to take 18 damage, so we'll take 11 damage in total. Bit of a shame we got a heal here. So that's our hand size, we got 5 cards in our hand and there's 11 cards left in our deck. So we're not going to get a heal again for a while. Bit of a shame. And we've got 5 mana to use. So we are going to do... it only applies 9 though, you see. Hang on, that only applies 9. Because of our weakness debuff, it's not going to actually do anything. And we're not going to get in the shield either. Which is really annoying. So, best bet... we'll throw that out for the extra mana. But I think we just have to go... apply the 9 frost and then do that. It's not the best, it's not optimal. And we're going to get hit hard. So we could have obviously done the arcane, but we haven't got anything else that'll do arcane damage to him. That'll fill the arcane meter, sorry. So there's no point doing that, when we're just better off just knocking his health down. So it's 25 here, as we can see on the frost, and because this one's upgraded, it does 26 damage, which will kill him. Just like that. There we go. So percentage-based attacks tend to be a lot better when things are debuffing you. So we are going to upgrade... What's that one going to do? 5 times 3 damage and shock 3. So that's 15 damage rather than 12. Which is pretty good. Or we can upgrade... If you upgrade that, 16 and gain 16 shield, which is pretty good as well. For most enemies, it'll do at least 1 or 2. This one will do 16 and 10, so that's 26 damage to 1. But it also increases the cost, so you gotta go, is it worth it? But I think upgrading Pierce, the second Pierce, is actually going to be better. But let's see what Shock does. Shock becomes 160%, which is a minimum of 16 damage, which is actually really good. I think we're going to upgrade that, especially for 1 mana. That's really good. So if you have a look here, legendary. So first we got trigger frostbite 2 times on all enemies, apply 20 frost to them and give them frostbite. That's all enemies. Okay, it costs 8 mana, but that's on all enemies 20 frost. And frostbite, gain 3 fixed frost and take 3 fixed damage, take double damage if you're frozen. It's not actually that bad if there's a lot of enemies, but we don't know how many enemies are in each fight, and that's a lot of mana. So we got Mana Eruption, which is gain 2 mana, then gain mana equal to 15% of your maximum mana. So at the moment it's 2. We have seen artifacts that increase it. We've also got a card that'll increase it as well. So that would probably go up to 3 or 4. But the legendary one, which we've taken before, you gain this card removed from your deck for this combat after you play it, so we can only play it once. Only 1 legendary card per fight. So we gain Frenzy. So you gain an additional turn after this one. Your fatigue will not be reset. So fatigue happens, I believe it's when you start drawing more cards in a turn. You start taking like fatigue damage, and things start costing more mana. So you gain buff, you draw an extra card every turn. And a buff, every turn gain 2 extra mana. Now given that a lot of our cards are quite expensive, I believe we're going to choose that one. Do we want to remove anything? Not yet, no. I think we'll be fine for now. And we get a horseshoe because we didn't remove anything. So we will go fight this guy. He's silver, so he's stronger. Hopefully better things. So we got the legendary. As you can see, our health hasn't actually reset, though our shield has. Which is fine, because we didn't rest. But that's fine because we can use... Well, we can use that first. We can then play that one, that mana card, in order to trigger this mana card to give us 14. So we can see it's going to disrupt for 6 frost on us. But what we're going to do, deal 19 damage to that one. Ooh. And then we mend ourselves for 11. So we've still got 3 mana left over, so when we end our turn, it'll be our turn again because of the legendary buff. We've got 6 cards now because of that. So here's our fatigue. You gain 1 rank every time you draw 5 extra cards. But we haven't drawn 5 extra cards. We've only drawn the 1 extra card. And we've got 9 mana to play with. I don't remember if mana overflows, if that's 11 or not. But what we'll do, this will do 6 times 2 damage, so that's 12. I think it'll be better. That one first, to freeze it. We can then play our mana card. It will be then, if that does, so that will do 11 plus 12, that's 23 damage. Whereas that will do 12, that will do 18 damage. So our best bet would be to throw Pierce out and then do that one. And I did that order wrong, should have actually done that first. because of that, which would have applied more shock from the damage of the other attacks. So that was a terrible order on my part. Did not think about what that would have done. So now it's at 21 on his frost. If we look at this, it will do 25 damage, which is wonderful. And this would give him 12 arcane, so we can see he's actually got 12 resistance, so this would still trigger it. Which I believe is what we're going to do. This is now at 28 damage. That will only do 20 damage anyway, so we're going to do this for 23. And we'll just apply that to gain 2 extra mana for the next turn. From what this says, at the start of your turn, if your mana is higher than the max value, it gets reduced to max. So the mana does overflow. So there we have it. But he's only got 5 health left, so it doesn't matter what we do. You've been frozen. Luckily, there's no need to panic. Your next 2 cards this turn will be free and have no effects. You can play 2 cards to get rid of frozen. Ah! Been frozen. I did not realise. Ah, frost barrier. Apply 2 fixed frost when hit. Ah, you see. I didn't pay attention to my frost. So what we need to do is these cost nothing. We just need to discard them to get unfrozen. We can then do that to gain 2 extra mana, and we can kill it. So the order there was simply to get rid of the 2 cards we weren't going to use, get the extra mana, and then we're fine. We kill it. Mana gained and health lost at 0 mana plus 4. Recoverable health minus 100. I'm sorry, so mana gained and health lost at 0 mana plus 4. So if we end our turn with 0 mana, we gain an extra 4 mana, presumably. But it means that we cannot recover any more health. That sounds terrible. We have 3 lucky charms, so we can actually re-roll. Max arcane plus 8. Enemy max arcane minus 2. So that's good for our arcane card. But it doesn't feel like we're going to need that. So I'm going to re-roll again. Strike hits plus... we haven't got any strike anyway. Shield gain plus 2. Evade chance plus 5%. Well, we might as well take that, because it actually sounds pretty good. Because that means our shield will go up to 12 instead of 10. I'm guessing. And I didn't actually realise we had an evade chance, but a 5% evade is always nice. So I think we'll take that. And we've got the card choices. We've got another Pierce. Gain 4 mana and 1 fatigue. And gain 8 shield, heal 8, and gain frozen 2. Now, that's actually pretty good, and it doesn't cost anything, though gain frozen 2. Debuff frozen. Yeah, we actually gain frozen, we don't get frost. Which means we'd have to either that's the end of our turn. Use 2 ranks at the end of each turn, so we'd have to play that card last. Or we'd end up having to pay 4 cards because it's 2 ranks. It's not too bad though to gain 8 shield and heal for 8. And if you play it last, then you still gain everything. So I think we will take that one actually. We'll just end up playing it at the end of the turn rather than doing anything else. So we'll fight the electric guy. Ooh, blimey, there's a lot of enemies here. This is where Blizzard would come in handy. So we got mana shield, gain 6 shield after... so we don't start with 10. I see, so we do not start with 10. But everything that gives us shield gives us 2 extra shields. So here, gain 2 mana and gain 6 shield if played after a mana card. So obviously we'll be playing this mana card first. Then we play this to gain 6 shield, which is 16, which stops all of these 2 attacks, which is great. We've also got 14 shield here, which, to be honest, we might as well use because it's there. I don't know why we use that actually, because we can keep the mana over. I keep forgetting that you don't lose mana at the end of your turn. A lot of games you sort of lose your mana. Never mind. So they all have 10, as you can see. We can always have freeze something, as we can see here. So we could have taken even less damage. So yeah, we will freeze you because you've got the most health, which means this would end up doing more damage. Not this one specifically. We're just going to attack this one because it's at the front. But the next one we get will do more damage to this guy. They gain +5 shield. Maybe should have probably blocked, should have frozen one of these. But never mind. It is what it is. So we've got apply 20 frost and then deal 20 damage if they're frozen. So what have we got? You're shielding, that's fine. We're doing 7, 7, 5. We've got a 10 shield here. So that's pretty good. What we're going to do is we're going to use this first for the buff. So we're doing order first correctly this time. We will hit 6 times, that is 5, 7, 7. Honestly, I think we will hit this one anyway to do the damage, and then we can do 16 damage, and that's 20 damage. So it's not going to kill anything, but that will freeze it, so we'll do that anyway. And then we'll throw that down to get the shield. As we see, we are spot on. The buff's gone. So we're having a look. So this guy's pretty much all but dead now. So this magic blast will actually kill it. So we don't actually have to target it. So it's great. We've got Mystic Renewal, which is actually really good. But I don't think we're going to use it this turn because it costs 4 mana. I think what we're going to do, we've only got 4 mana at the moment on us, or 6 mana if we technically, because we can use that. We don't have any mana cards, so we'll just use it on its own. But the best thing, see, I'm not entirely sure because obviously we've got low shield. That's going to do 8 damage. That's going to do 7 damage. And that's going to do 8 damage. But this will give us another turn. So it might actually be better. We've still got 3 cards in deck, including another one of these. So I think that's actually going to be the best move. Because if we end our turn now, we keep the 2 mana. We gain +6 this time. And we have the Magic Blast there. And because it's still our turn, or it's our next turn effectively, what we can do is hit this one with that attack, which then wipes this one out, and that does 8 damage there, or 8 health left. So we got, it's obviously doing 1 damage. It's doing 1 damage to us every time we hit it as well. So that's why our shield went down. We hit it twice then. So 8 + 7 is 15. We don't have 15 yet. What we can do is we can play this to gain 2 mana, and it's a mana card. Applies the 3 frost, but that's negligible at this point. Does mean that this triggers to give us the 6 extra shield. And then we can do another 6 extra shield. That will cover the damage from these 2. We've also got maximum mana now, so we can actually kill this one, which covers the damage. There's no point really doing that, although we do gain 4 mana anyway at the end of the turn, but there's no point using it regardless. So this one's got Death Spores. Apply 1 powerful rank 1 powerful per rank to each ally on death, not reduced at the end of turn. So if we kill this one gets 3 powerful, which isn't great. Oh, it's actually gone over. So it's a good thing we didn't use that shield then. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this first, because it gives us the buff. We're going to kill this one, because we don't want to give it the powerful buff, you see. So we do that. We can then... That does 16 damage, so close. We can just absolutely wreck it there. And apply 12 frost to this guy. And then just hit it with that. So he's not going to do anything anyway now, because he's now frozen. At the end of his turn he loses the frozen. And we can just wipe it out. No, we can't. That was a dumb thing to do. I thought it was going to do a bit more damage. But obviously it didn't do enough damage, so we had to use the mana card to get 2 mana back to then use the other attack, which is all fine. So this one gives... So you got Icy Concentration again. Gain Adept. So it's a buff which increases status applied by cards by 25%. So that's actually not bad at all, since we keep applying Frost and Lightning. And we also gain Mana Boost and Growth. Now we've got another card that gives us Growth as well. This one applies Bleed, but that's a strike, and it's not affected by any of the buffs. So this card is overall probably the better one, in my opinion. So we are now here on this. This is an Ice Elemental. We've got Lightning, and there's a Fire Elemental. Yeah, Fire Elementals aren't as squiggly, are a bit more curvy. So here we are again. So it applies 3 Frost to the first enemy. So what have we got? That's got 10 resistance on Lightning. So that'll do 16 damage to everything. And this one's got 10 ice resistance on everything. So despite it being a Frost Elemental, actually doesn't have too much of the resistance. What's good about this is we can actually... That's going to do 12 damage. And that does 16 damage, so we can actually kill that one. And that does 5 damage, and it will buff itself, probably with Powerful. So what we can do is we can freeze this one for 6 mana. So now that's at 0. But we can do that to gain 4 mana back. And then we can use the 2 remaining cards to wipe that one out. So, despite the fact that it's now unfrozen, it's at 15. If we had any more freeze cards and froze it anymore, it would have probably been frozen again. As you can see here, powerful buff as well. So we're right on the money with that. So we've got 5 mana to spend. Now we could use that. I don't think that's going to help too much. What we can do is use the Arcane, which would give us a shield and do 10 damage to one of these. Alternatively, we can actually freeze one of them first. So if we freeze this one first and then shield, do that one, we'll do 15 damage and remove one of its buffs. Now we've got 19 shield, and that only does 12 damage. We could use that to shield ourselves a bit more, but we don't need to, so we'll skip it for now. I suppose our shield would have gone up, could have stayed at 10 if we did, but it's not too important. So we've got... Unfortunately, we don't have another mana card in hand, but we will play this one to gain mana. Gain the mana boost and adept and growth. We can then play this to gain an extra mana. And this will do 6 times 2, so that's 12 damage. This would do 18 damage. Fortunately not enough to kill it. But it doesn't have to because it's only going to do 6 damage to us. And we've got 7 armor. Now this guy defended, and the defending actually gave him 3, gave a shield to both. So let's be careful with that. This is apply 25 frost, then deal 20 damage if it's frozen. So we can kill this. Which might not be too bad, but I reckon if we do that and that, that'll give us 7. We can then do freeze this one, and we'll do that to give our shield. So we're now back up to 10 shield. Now, this is the arcane one again. So if you look, that's actually got 12 resistance now rather than the 10 here. But we're going to put it on here because it's frozen. It's actually double frozen. It's still frozen because we did so much frost to it previously. The resistance that went down didn't actually go below its maximum number. So it's still frozen, which means it will do 15 damage to this enemy and give us a shield. And thankfully, because it's now down to 1 and that's down to 8, we can use Magic Blast on this guy and kill them both. So using the legendary ability, using the Adept was the better option there to gain the extra mana each turn. So this is another strike. This gives us, would give powerful. It's not reduced at the end of the turn, so it does 1 times 3 damage, and then it will do 2 times 3 damage. I believe it does 1 damage 3 times, and then it will do 2 damage 3 times, so that's constantly stacking. So if you're using a melee character who's got lots of strikes, then powerful is very good to get. Drawing cards for the 3 mana, it seems pretty expensive though. We don't always have a lot of mana, so I think we might choose that strike anyway. And because we like story, we'll go for this one. Along your trail you find a small cairn with a statuette on it. A few scattered kuros like this can be found in the ether, created over the years by spiritual adventurers. Surprisingly, they seem to slowly gather magical energy. So we can either meditate, sharpen our weapons, repair our armor, or gather the lingering energy. If we gather the energy, we've got... Oh, we're in Area 1, Depth 1, so this isn't actually Depth 2 like I thought it was. Never mind. But we gather the energy, that might give us enough to get another piece of equipment. So I think that might be what we do. 73 energy. What item do we get? Damage dealt -4, status applied -4, powerful gained on shuffle +2. Now that's interesting, because that means we do less damage to begin with, but powerful would, every time we shuffle, powerful would gain +2, so that one strike that we've got would then do 3 times 3 damage on shuffle, so 9, and then that would add up really quickly. I don't think we want that though, because we're applying statuses and it's damage dealt, so it's damage we deal, I'm assuming, and statuses applied rather than damage taken. The statuses applied is not very clear if that's the statuses we apply or the statuses that get applied to us. So it could be both. But I think we're discarding it anyway, because it's just not quite what we need. And we don't need to rest, even though it's telling us we can rest. Why do we want to rest? We don't want to rest. Do we want to rest? Ah, let's rest. You restore 30% of your maximum health and choose an additional random bonus. Increase maximum health. We've got 2 heal cards, so we can actually increase maximum health. We could remove a card as well. Not really worth it. Let's increase our maximum health. And the boss. So this guy's thing is an area support, buff itself and its allies, which I think is already done. And it will heal. This guy's going to debuff us, and this one's going to do 1 times 4 damage and buff itself with strength. Right, so we actually want to use this for sure to get rid of the buffs. And we've got 6 mana. So what we're going to do, they all have 10. So we're going to do this to this guy to gain an extra shield and reduce one of his buffs. We'll then use this one to gain more mana. Then we'll do that. Should have done that first. Silliness. So this will do 12 damage, whereas this will do 8 damage. And it'll do 12 damage to this one because it's actually at 15 resistance. So we do that and end our turn. Thanks to the shield, we are not mighty. Ooh, ah, crikey, and that's done. Ooh. Okay. So we're going to first do that one to use the mana card, and then we'll do that one to gain 6 shield, because that's going to do 10 damage and 10 arcane. Oof. And we're gonna have to freeze this one. That's going to do 10 arcane as well. Crikey. Oh, we can freeze 2 of them actually. And we've got the mana to freeze 2 of them, even though we're weakened. So we're going to do 15 damage. But we'll freeze you. Yeah, we'll have to do this on you. Oh, what? It did not get frozen. Oh, that's problematic. He got frozen at least. But it will do 26 damage to him. And 4 shock. That is very problematic. Because we're going to get hurt. Okay, but that's fine. It's really not fine. Right, we can mend ourselves for 12. He's going to do 14 damage to us and buff everything. He's going to do 8 damage to us. Oh, that's only 22. That's only 24, 34 damage. That's going to hurt. So we'll do that. Can't do anything else. We are going to get absolutely destroyed. We are. So we can only get healed up to 85 now. That's not good. We are going to use that. We are going to need to probably use that. So we're going to... who do we want to... Honestly, I think we want to try and kill this guy. 2 mana. Maximize our shield and heal. Which is fine, because that now goes, and we reshuffle. Excellent, so he's got 5 health. 7 times 2, that's going to be 14. 120, that's 19, 13. Got 7 mana. A little bit more than 7 mana, technically. What we can do is we can do that. That one. And we'll do that to gain the shield. Because we're going to need it. So that does 17, 17. That will do 14, 14. And that does 19, 13. So what we're going to want to do is that one. And then we're going to... I do 31 damage to that one though. 13. But we kind of want to get rid of this, don't we? It's not very good because it's now got 11, which means it's going to do 16 damage. But thankfully that's our entire shield. So, but it's going to do 16 arcane as well. So we're going to take some damage again. Oh, actually we didn't. I thought we'd have done 16 damage, but it didn't. Strange. So what have we got? So we just don't have powerful anymore because we got the arcane hit. Got rid of the powerful buff. But this is going to do 12 arcane and that's there. So that will trigger. And it removes some of the buffs. We are going to then 13 times 4 damage. I just realised how much damage he's doing. 13, that's 26. What is it, 52? Right, we've got a fair bit of mana, so we're going to use a shield. We're going to then hit him. And we're going to hit him. And then we're going to hit him. And then we're going to cry. Fine, we're doing okay. He's going to heal himself and buff himself next turn. So what we can do, we can do Mana Adept, and we can chill, and then give ourselves that. We don't need to actually spend those, but we spend them anyway. Oh, 15 times 30 damage. Crike. So that will only heal us for 4 because our maximum health is now 85. In reality, we kind of need to try and kill him. Actually, that will freeze him, which will be brilliant. Freeze him, deal damage. We can then do that to gain some mana, and we'll just do that shield again. We don't need the shield, but it still refreshes our shield to max, so it's fine. And now he's at 24 health. He's still going to heal and support himself next, so we should be able to take him out. That will do 21 damage. And freeze him again. And we can actually finish him off with the bolt. Ooh. The amount of buffs he was getting did get a little bit worrying, admittedly. But yeah, there we go. So you're looking at what you've done, what you've got in the on the resistances, seeing how the percentages work. That's all there is to it. And we're level 3. Got another trinket slot, and we can now edit the card pool. We can now actually... I don't know what that means. Oh, we can create our own decks now. That's what it was. And use the higher cards. Well, let's have a look. So, Forest Investigation. We've completed that now as well. Now it unlocks depths too. That's what we were thinking. So clearly we won't find answers in the forest. I'm authorising a new artifact for you to delve further into the aether. Report back with anything suspicious. Your maximum pool size has increased. Venturing into further depth increases the amount of areas to explore. You will face stronger foes and even better rewards. So we've unlocked Magic Spores. Apply 10 arcane to all enemies. Give all of your allies Death Spores 2. And choose any enemy. Gain 4 mana equal to 40% of its maximum arcane. So again, The maximum arcane is the bar. So the first time you'd use it, it would probably be 10, so you'd gain 4 mana. And then you'd gain 6 mana probably, and then the more times you use the arcane abilities, the more it will do that. So if we built an arcane deck, that would be really good to have if we end up using arcane. But frost just seems just that much better at the moment. So there we go. And then we've got the next next missions. So apparently we can open packs. So yeah, we've got enough to open a pack. Let's see what we got. So we got surprise, gain critical, and gain give vulnerable 1 to all enemies. So for our other character, that would be pretty good. Deal 26 damage to any enemy. Damage modifiers are doubled for this card. That sounds really powerful. And gain growth 6. Transforms into harvest. Ooh, that's pretty good. Growth 6 is pretty good, because it means that you gain extra mana as well. And you heal 2 and draw 2 with harvest. They're not bad actually for spells. So yeah, there you have it. So we haven't done the... We'll refresh that one. Deal damage with arcane. Well, I wish we had that earlier. We can unlock more bounties with the gold that we've got. We can unlock... Oh, mana tonic. So these are for the next run, so they're not permanent. But increases your max mana by 5 is actually pretty good. And the forge has got permanent upgrades, which is why they're more expensive. So you can do those. Increase your maximum health by 0 to 5%, recoverable health by 0 to 1. See enemy compositions upon upcoming fights. So that's the good one. That's the one that allows you to see what enemies are fighting where. So it might be worth getting that. Why not? If we go to start run, there should be... There are no more characters we can get either at the moment. But I feel like that's probably the better thing to save the money on for now. And obviously they all got their abilities. But there you have it. So that's roughly what my thought process was with using what cards where. And the resistances and everything. And how they all go. It's a fun game. I like it. I'll probably play it a bit more now. Off recording and stuff like that. Can't return it now. I've been playing it for over 2 hours. So yeah, I hope that was a bit more explanatory to how my thought process goes with the combat. Obviously that's with the spellcaster. The same would probably apply to all the others as well. So like for the bleeds, they drop at the end of the turn, so you probably want to maximize the amount of bleeds, because each stack that you would get, it would deal 1 damage. So if you get to a stack of 10, it will do 10 damage at the end. But obviously the Rodan, that character, isn't tuned towards being the bleeding character, so which probably one of the other ones are. So anyway, I hope that was something to watch. Until the next time, take care.